Julian's hands were shaking. He'd built skyscrapers that touched clouds, designed bridges that held thousands of tons, but he couldn't figure out why his 13-year-old daughter cried every time he asked how her day went. The parenting section felt like a foreign language he'd never learned. He reached for a book with a coffee-stained cover when another hand touched it first. Paint-stained fingers, tired eyes that mirrored his own. She didn't let go. Neither did he. "You too?" she asked, her voice soft against the rain drumming the windows. "Trying to survive the storm?" The woman's laugh came first, quick, self-deprecating. She pulled her hand back from the book like she'd been caught stealing. "God, sorry. I've been circling this shelf for 20 minutes like a vulture." She tucked a strand of dark hair behind her ear, revealing a smudge of blue paint along her jaw. "You take it. You look like you need it more than I do." Julian's throat felt tight. He'd spent 3 years perfecting the art of looking fine. Pressed shirts, clean-shaven. The architect who had his life together. But apparently, standing in the self-help section of a cramped bookstore on a Wednesday afternoon had cracked that illusion wide open. "Is it that obvious?" He tried for a smile. The death grip on 2 different parenting books gave it away. Her eyes, hazel, he noticed, flecked with amber in the bookstore's warm lighting, softened. "Also, you're standing in a puddle and don't seem to notice." He looked down. His leather shoes were soaked. Rain dripped from his jacket onto the hardwood floor. He'd been so focused on finding answers that he hadn't bothered to grab an umbrella from the stand by the door. "13-year-old daughter," he said, surprising himself with the honesty. "Used to tell me everything. Now I'm lucky if I get 3 words before she locks herself in her room." "13-year-old sister," the woman replied. She held up her own book, a dog-eared copy about teenage rebellion. "Except I'm supposed to be the parent, the cool, older sibling, and the emotional support system all at once. Spoiler alert, I'm failing at all 3. Something in Julian's chest loosened. The bookstore suddenly felt less like a battlefield and more like a bunker, shared territory. "Sienna," she offered her hand. The paint stains extended past her wrist, disappearing under a worn denim jacket. "I work here." "Well, I'm supposed to be working, but mostly I'm hiding from customers and having an existential crisis about raising a teenager when I still don't feel like an adult myself." "Julian." Her hand was warm despite the cold outside. "Architect, expert at building things that stay standing, terrible at building conversations with my own kid." The bell above the door chimed, another customer shaking off rain. Sienna glanced toward the front, then back at him. A decision seemed to flicker across her face. "Okay, real talk?" She lowered her voice like they were conspirators. "These books are trash. All of them. They'll give you 10 strategies that work for literally no one, make you feel like you're doing everything wrong, and use the word journey 47 times. Julian blinked. "Then why are you buying one?" "Because I'm desperate." She said it so plainly, so without shame, that he almost laughed. "But at least I know they're trash going in. Sets realistic expectations." The rain outside intensified, turning the windows into watercolor blurs. Sienna's jacket smelled faintly of turpentine and coffee. Julian realized he'd been holding his breath. "What if—" He stopped, started again. "What if we skip the books?" Her eyebrow arched. "Revolutionary." "I'm serious. You understand teenage girls. I'm apparently good at math and spatial reasoning, which I'm told is helpful for something." He felt ridiculous, but also strangely certain. "Your sister needs help with homework? I'll tutor her. You help me figure out why my daughter looks at me like I'm a stranger." Sienna studied him for a long moment. Outside, thunder rolled low and distant. The bookstore felt suspended, warm amber light against the storm pressing in. "That's either the smartest thing I've heard all week," she said slowly, "or we're both so far out of our depth that we're just drowning together." "Does it matter which?" "Not really. She smiled, genuinely this time. It changed her whole face, chased away some of the exhaustion. Okay, architect, you've got yourself a deal. But fair warning, Mia's failing algebra, and she has the emotional regulation skills of a caffeinated squirrel. Lily told me last week that she hates me and wishes I'd disappear. Julian's voice came out rougher than he intended. So we're starting from the same place. Sienna's expression shifted, something knowing and sad passing through her eyes. She reached out and squeezed his arm, just once before letting go. Then I guess we're allies in the trenches, she said. Welcome to the war, Julian. The apartment greeted Julian with silence. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that felt deliberate, pointed. Lily's bedroom door was closed, a sliver of blue light escaping underneath, where she was probably glued to her phone, talking to friends who apparently understood her better than he ever could. He set his keys on the kitchen counter. The architecture magazine he'd left open that morning was still there, untouched. The breakfast dishes he'd washed, the note he'd written, "Have a great day, Lil, love you," crumpled in the trash can. Julian pulled out his phone and scrolled to the Notes app, where he'd typed Sienna's advice during his lunch break. Don't ask yes-no questions. Don't fix problems she hasn't asked you to fix. Just listen, even if it's hard, especially if it's hard. He could do that. He was good at listening. He'd sat through hundreds of client meetings, nodding at the right moments, asking clarifying questions. How different could this be? He knocked on Lily's door. 2 quick raps, the same pattern he'd used since she was small. Lil, can we talk? A pause, then, I'm busy. I know, He pressed his palm flat against the door, imagining he could feel her on the other side. I wanted to check in, see how your day was. Fine. One word, delivered like a wall. Julian's jaw tightened. Don't fix it. Don't push. Just listen. He took a breath. Anything specific? Good things, bad things, in between things? Dad, I said I'm busy. Right. Okay. He started to turn away, then stopped. Tried once more. I'm here if you want to talk. About anything. School, friends, if something's bothering you. The door swung open so fast he stumbled back. Lily stood there in an oversized hoodie, her dark hair pulled into a messy knot. She had her mother's eyes, sharp and gray, and right now, they were blazing. You want to know what's bothering me? Her voice cracked. You, hovering, asking me a million questions like I'm some kind of case study for your next building project. I'm not broken, Dad. You can't fix me. Julian felt the words land like physical blows. I'm not trying to fix you. I just want to understand. Understand what? That I'm fine? That I don't need you interrogating me every 5 seconds? She crossed her arms, her whole body rigid. Mom never did this. She just knew. There it was, the landmine he'd been tiptoeing around for 3 years. Julian's throat closed. He wanted to say that Mom had known Lily since birth, that she'd had 13 years to build that intuition, that he was trying so damn hard to learn the language his daughter spoke. But the words stuck. I'm sorry, he managed. Lily's expression flickered, surprise maybe, or regret. But then the wall went back up. Whatever, I have homework. The door closed. Not slammed, which somehow felt worse. Julian stood in the hallway for a long time, staring at the faded paint, the childhood drawings still taped near the doorframe. A crayon family. Mom, Dad, Lily. Smiling stick figures holding hands. He pulled out his phone and typed a message to Sienna. Tried your advice. She told me I can't fix her and that her mom never had to try this hard. I think I made it worse. The reply came faster than he expected. You didn't make it worse. She's just scared you're giving up. Keep showing up, even when it hurts. Julian leaned against the wall, closed his eyes, and let himself feel the full weight of how badly he was failing at the one job that actually mattered. Julian told himself he was going back to the bookstore for a different book. Maybe something about grief counseling for teens. Maybe just a novel to distract himself from the hollow ache that had settled in his chest since last night. But when he pushed through the door, the bell chiming softly overhead, his eyes went straight to the reading nook in the back corner. Sienna was there, perched on a worn velvet chair, her phone pressed to her ear, and her free hand pressed to her forehead. "Mia, I don't care if Madison said it first. You don't call your teacher a fascist." Her voice was strained, careful. "Yes, I know what the word means. No, I'm not. Mia, listen to me." The bookstore smelled like old paper, and the burnt-edge bitterness of coffee left too long on the warmer. Soft jazz played from a speaker somewhere, nearly drowned out by the rain that hadn't stopped since yesterday. Julian moved quietly toward the parenting section, but his attention stayed on Sienna. "Because you're 13 and she's trying to teach you algebra, not run a dictatorship." Sienna's jaw was tight. "You're grounded. No, I don't want to hear, Mia, Mia." "Fine. Call me back when you're ready to be reasonable." She lowered the phone and stared at it like it had personally betrayed her. Julian cleared his throat. Sienna's head snapped up. For a second, her expression was raw, frustration and helplessness written in every line. Then she seemed to register who was standing there, and a tired smile pulled at her mouth. "Hey, architect, come to return your terrible parenting books?" "Came to admit you were right about them being useless." He moved closer, hands in his pockets. "Tried the just listen approach. Lily told me I'm hovering and that I'll never understand her the way her mom did." "Ouch," Sienna grimaced. "Mia just told me I'm a hypocrite for grounding her when I barely have my life together." Direct quote. "Are we sure 13 isn't just a curse?" Julian sank into the chair across from her. "Like, cosmically speaking, punishment for something we did in a past life." "Pretty sure." Sienna set her phone face down on the armrest, like she couldn't bear to look at it. "Although I'm also pretty sure I'm doing everything wrong. Mia's teacher called me this morning to say she's failing math, talking back in class, and might get suspended if she doesn't turn things around. And I'm supposed to, what, ground her harder? Bribe her with? I don't even know what 13-year-olds want anymore." Julian watched her, the way her shoulders curved inward, the smudge of paint still on her jaw from yesterday. She looked like she'd been holding up a crumbling ceiling with her bare hands. "I could still help," he said quietly. "With the math, at least." Sienna's eyes met his, searching. "You're serious about that?" "I designed a 30-story office building last year that required calculations most people need a PhD for. I think I can handle 8th grade algebra." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "And honestly, I could use the distraction. Sitting at home, waiting for Lily to talk to me, feels like slowly suffocating." A long pause. The rain drummed against the windows. Somewhere in the stacks, another customer was humming off-key. "Okay," Sienna said finally. "But same deal. I help you with Lily, or at least try to. No guarantees I won't make things worse, but..." She shrugged. "Misery loves company, right?" Something like that. She pulled out her phone again, hesitated, then opened her calendar. "Mia gets home from school at 3:30. I'm off work at 4 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You free then?" Julian thought about his schedule, deadlines, client meetings, the slow avalanche of projects he'd been burying himself in to avoid going home to the silence. He could move things. He would move things. "I'll make it work." "Great." Sienna's smile was small, but real. "Welcome to the chaos, Julian. Try not to run screaming within the first week." "Absolutely not." Mia stood in Sienna's tiny studio apartment, arms crossed, defiance radiating from every inch of her 5'2" frame. She had the same dark hair as her sister, but where Sienna's was paint-streaked and chaotic, Mia's was sleek, straightened within an inch of its life. "You don't get a vote," Sienna said, keeping her voice level. "You're failing algebra. This is happening. I don't need some random old guy tutoring me. I can figure it out myself." "He's not old. He's 34. Sienna grabbed her jacket from the back of the couch. And clearly, you can't figure it out yourself because your teacher called me. Again. Mia's jaw tightened. She looked so much like their mother in that moment, stubborn, angry, hurt beneath the bravado, that Sienna had to look away. This is so stupid, Mia muttered. You're pawning me off on some stranger because you can't help me yourself. I can't help you because I barely passed algebra when I was your age, and you need to actually learn this stuff. Sienna grabbed her keys, refusing to let Mia see how much that barb had landed. Julian's an architect. He's good at math. He's also a decent human being who's dealing with his own kid stuff, so maybe show him an ounce of respect. Why do you even care? The question came out sharp, but underneath it, Sienna heard the tremor. You're not Mom. There it was. The thing they'd been dancing around for 2 years, since their parents' divorce had blown their lives apart, and Sienna had moved back from Seattle to take guardianship of a sister who resented every second of it. Sienna set down her keys, took a breath, turned back. No, she said quietly. I'm not, but I'm here, and I'm trying. And you're going to meet Julian at the cafe on Thursday at 4. And you're going to be polite, and you're going to let him help you. Because if you get suspended, Mia, the state gets involved. And I can't. Her voice broke. She swallowed hard, forced herself to continue. I can't lose you, okay? So yeah, I'm pawning you off on a stranger, because I'm desperate and terrified and doing the best I can. Mia stared at her. The anger in her eyes wavered, replaced by something younger, smaller. Fine, she whispered. I'll go. Thank you. The apartment fell silent except for the rain against the window. Mia turned and disappeared into her room. Sienna slumped onto the couch, buried her face in her hands, and let herself shake. Her phone buzzed. A text from Julian. Lily agreed to let me buy her coffee tomorrow. It's not much, but it's something. How's your day going? Sienna laughed. A sharp, brittle sound. She typed back. Just had a fight with Mia. She thinks I'm ruining her life. Pretty standard Tuesday. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. For what it's worth, you're not ruining it. You're saving it. She'll see that eventually. Sienna read the message 3 times. Then she got up, went to her easel in the corner, and started painting. Blues and ambers, rain and warm light, anything to stop her hands from shaking. The cafe smelled like cinnamon and espresso, a cramped space tucked between a dry cleaner and a vintage record shop. Rain streaked the windows. Julian sat at a corner table, a stack of graph paper and pencils arranged neatly in front of him, and tried not to look like a man on the edge of a breakdown. Lily was 20 minutes late. He checked his phone. No messages. He'd told her he'd be here at 5. She'd rolled her eyes but hadn't said no, which he'd taken as a victory. The door opened. Not Lily, Sienna, her jacket soaked, a messenger bag slung over her shoulder. She spotted him and waved, then gestured to the counter. He nodded. 5 minutes later, she slid into the seat across from him, 2 mugs in hand. Mia's running late, she said, pushing 1 mug toward him. Intentionally, I'm guessing. She's in full rebellion mode. Lily, too. Julian wrapped his hands around the mug. Black coffee, no sugar. How had Sienna known? I'm starting to think this was a terrible idea. Oh, it definitely is, she grinned. But we're committed now. No backing out when things get weird. When? When, she confirmed. They sat in companionable silence, watching the rain. The cafe was nearly empty. Just an older man reading a newspaper in the corner and a barista wiping down tables. Soft indie music played overhead, barely audible. Julian glanced at Sienna. She'd pulled out a sketchbook and was drawing something in quick, confident strokes. He couldn't see what, but her whole posture had changed. Looser, less guarded. What are you working on? He asked. A commission. Children's book about a girl who builds a rocket ship out of recycled junk. She didn't look up. It's due next week and I'm nowhere near done. but I can't seem to draw when I'm stressed, which means I'm always behind, which makes me more stressed. Vicious cycle. Sounds familiar. I do the same thing with blueprints. Yeah? She glanced up, curious. What are you working on now? A community center in North Portland, low-income neighborhood. The budget's a nightmare, but the design is... He paused, searching for the right word. Important. It's the first thing I've cared about in a long time. Sienna's expression softened. That's good. Caring about things, even when they're hard. The door chimed again. This time, two teenage girls walked in together. One tall with dark hair and a messy bun, the other shorter with pin-straight hair and an expression that could cut glass. Lily and Mia. They spotted their respective guardians and froze. Oh my God, Lily said. Mia? Lily? Mia's eyes went wide. Wait, this is so weird. Julian looked at Sienna. She looked back, equally confused. You two know each other? Sienna asked. She's in my English class, Lily said, her voice losing some of its usual frost. We did a group project last month. Small world, Mia muttered. Then to Lily, your dad's the math tutor? Your sister is the one helping my dad figure out why I'm a nightmare? Lily shot back, but there was no real bite to it. Julian watched something shift in the air. Recognition, maybe. Or the realization that they weren't the only ones struggling. Well, Sienna said, standing up, this just got significantly less awkward. Everyone sit. Julian's going to teach algebra. I'm going to draw and pretend I'm not eavesdropping, and we're all going to act like functional humans for the next hour. Deal? Mia rolled her eyes. Lily sighed dramatically, but they both sat down. And for the first time in weeks, Julian felt like maybe, just maybe, he wasn't drowning alone. No, that's not... Mia, you're adding when you should be subtracting. Julian leaned over the notebook, pencil in hand, trying to keep his patience intact. They've been at this for 40 minutes, and Mia had gotten exactly 3 problems right out of 20. She kept making the same mistake, reversing operations like her brain was wired backward. I did subtract, Mia snapped. See? Right there. That's a plus sign. No, it's not. Across the table, Sienna winced. Lily was watching the whole exchange with the kind of morbid fascination usually reserved for car crashes. Julian took a breath, tried a different approach. Okay, forget the numbers for a second. Imagine you're building something. A treehouse, maybe. You have 10 wooden planks, but you use 3 for the floor. How many do you have left? Mia stared at him like he'd started speaking Mandarin. 7? Right, so 10 minus 3 equals 7. Same thing here. He pointed at the equation. X plus 5 equals 12. You're trying to find X, so you need to subtract 5 from both sides, Mia finished, her voice flat. I know, I'm not stupid. I never said you were. You're thinking it. Julian sat back, surprised. I'm really not. I'm thinking you're smart enough to understand this, but something's blocking you, and I'm trying to figure out what. Mia's defenses cracked, just slightly. Everyone else gets it. Madison, Tyler, even Becca, and she's failing everything else. It's just me. That's not true, Lily said suddenly. Both adults turned to look at her. She shrugged. You're not the only one. I heard Miss Chen say half the class bombed the last test. Really? Really, Lily leaned forward. Also, Madison's kind of a jerk, just FYI. Mia's lips twitched. She really is. Sienna and Julian exchanged a glance. Something unspoken passed between them. Hope, maybe, or relief that the girls weren't actively trying to kill each other. Okay, Julian said, pulling the notebook back toward him. Let's try one more time. Slower. No judgment, just steps. This time Mia followed along. Her pencil moved haltingly across the page, but she got it right. There, Julian said. See? You're not stupid. You just needed to slow down. Mia didn't respond, but her shoulders relaxed. She bent over the next problem, working through it methodically. Lily caught Julian's eye and gave him the smallest nod. It felt like winning the lottery. The bookstore was closed, but Sienna had a key. She'd invited Julian to stay after their Tuesday session, claiming she needed help reaching a box of old art supplies on the top shelf. He'd agreed, partly because it was true. She was 5'4" and the shelf was 8 feet high, but mostly because the thought of going home to another silent dinner made his chest tighten. Now they stood in the back room, surrounded by towers of unshelved books and half-empty coffee cups. "It's up there," Sienna said, pointing to a cardboard box labeled brushes and misc. "I've been meaning to grab it for weeks, but I keep forgetting to ask someone tall." Julian pulled over a stepladder. "You could have just climbed." "I could have, but then I wouldn't have an excuse to bribe you with free coffee." He laughed, a real one, low and genuine, and climbed up. The box was heavier than it looked, stuffed with old paintbrushes, half-used tubes of acrylics, and a tangle of palette knives. He handed it down carefully. "Thanks." Sienna set it on the floor, kneeling to dig through it. "God, I forgot I even had these. Look at this, I used this brush for my senior thesis. Thought I lost it in the move." She held up a worn fan brush, its bristles splayed and stained with a dozen colors. Her whole face lit up. Julian climbed down from the ladder, watching her. There was something unself-conscious about the way she moved through the world, like she hadn't learned to perform yet. It made him acutely aware of how much of his own life was performance. The composed architect, the capable single father, the man who had everything under control. "Do you miss it?" he asked. "Art school, having time to paint." Sienna's smile faded, just slightly. "Every day, but Mia needed stability, and art doesn't exactly pay the bills." "You still paint, though. I've seen your sketchbook." "Scraps," she said, "half-finished ideas. Nothing like what I used to do." She set the brush down, her fingers lingering on the handle. "I keep telling myself I'll get back to it when things calm down, when Mia's older, when I have more time. But I think that's just a lie I tell myself, so I don't have to face the fact that I gave it up." Julian sat down on the floor beside her, his back against the bookshelf. "You didn't give it up. You made a choice." "Same thing. Not even close." He thought about the blueprints he'd abandoned after his wife died, the projects he'd turned down because he couldn't bear to care about anything beyond getting Lily through another day. Giving up is walking away forever. Making a choice is saying, not now, but someday. There's a difference. Sienna looked at him for a long moment. The bookstore was so quiet he could hear the rain on the roof, the creak of old wood settling. "You really believe that?" she asked. "I have to." "Thanks, architect," she whispered. And Julian realized, with startling clarity, that he hadn't felt this scene in 3 years. It happened on a Thursday. Julian and Sienna were at the cafe. Mia and Lily hunched over homework when Sienna's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and her face went pale. "I have to take this." She stood abruptly, stepping outside into the rain. Through the window, Julian watched her pace, one hand pressed to her forehead. Her mouth moved rapidly, arguing, pleading. Then she stopped, frozen, like someone had cut her strings. Lily and Mia had gone silent, watching too. Sienna came back inside, water dripping from her jacket. Her hands were shaking. "Mia," she said, her voice carefully controlled, "where are you supposed to be right now?" Mia's face went blank. "What?" "Your school called. You weren't in 6th period. Or 7th. They said you left campus 2 hours ago." Sienna's voice cracked. "Where were you?" Mia's eyes darted toward Lily, then back. "I just needed air. I went for a walk." "A walk?" Sienna's laugh was sharp, bitter. "You skipped class to go for a walk, and you didn't think to tell me?" "You would have said no." "Of course I would have said no. You're 13, Mia. You don't get to just leave school whenever you feel like it." Sienna's hands clenched into fists. "Do you have any idea what could have happened? What I thought when they called me? Mia stood, her chair scraping loudly. You're so dramatic. I was fine. I'm always fine. You're grounded. 2 weeks. Phone, laptop, everything. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Sienna's voice broke. I'm doing everything I can, and you keep pushing, and I don't know how much more I can. She stopped, pressed her hand to her mouth. Then she grabbed her bag and walked out of the cafe. The silence she left behind was suffocating. Mia's face crumpled. Lily reached across the table and grabbed her hand. Julian stood frozen, torn between going after Sienna and staying with the girls. In the end, he chose the girls, because Sienna had disappeared into the rain, and he had no idea how to fix what had just shattered. But later, when he finally made it home, he found a text waiting. Mia ran away. Can't find her. I'm so scared I can't breathe. Julian stared at the message. Then he grabbed his keys and ran. Julian found Sienna sitting on the curb outside her apartment building, phone clutched in both hands, rain soaking through her jacket. She didn't look up when his car pulled to the curb. I've called her 17 times. Her voice was hollow. Checked everywhere I can think of. The school, the park, the library. She's just gone. Julian crouched beside her. Did you call the police? They said she hasn't been missing long enough, that she's probably just cooling off. Sienna's laugh was broken. They don't understand. Mia doesn't cool off. She spirals. Where would she go? I don't know. Sienna finally looked at him, her eyes red-rimmed. I don't know my own sister well enough to guess where she'd run. What kind of guardian does that make me? Julian made a decision. Get in the car. What? You're soaked, you're panicking, and you can't think straight. Get in the car. We're going to find her. He stood, offering his hand. You know this city better than anyone. We'll drive every route, check every spot. She's 13. She can't have gone far. Sienna stared at his hand like it was a lifeline. Then she took it. They drove for an hour, circling through downtown Seattle. Julian kept his hands steady on the wheel while Sienna called out directions. Turn left here, slow down there, check that coffee shop. The rain turned the city into a watercolor blur. There, Sienna's voice cracked. The bus stop. That's her jacket. Julian pulled over, hazards blinking. Mia was hunched on the bench, hood up, knees pulled to her chest. She looked so small. Sienna was out of the car before it fully stopped, stumbling across the wet pavement. Julian followed more slowly, giving them space. Mia! Sienna's voice broke on the name. Mia looked up. Her face was blotchy, streaked with rain and tears. I wasn't running away. I needed to think. At a bus stop? In the rain? Without telling me? Sienna sank onto the bench beside her. You scared me half to death. Good. Mia's voice was small, vicious. Maybe now you know how it feels. Sienna flinched. Julian could see her struggling, wanting to yell, to pull Mia close, to shake her and hug her all at once. Instead, she just sat there, rain dripping down her face. Julian moved closer, careful, quiet. Mia, can I ask you something? She glared at him. What? Where were you planning to go? A pause. Mia's jaw tightened. I don't know, somewhere that isn't here. Because you're angry or because you're scared? Both. The word came out strangled. Sienna's going to give up on me eventually. Everyone does. So why not just leave first? Julian sat down on her other side. The three of them lined up on a rain-soaked bench like the world's saddest tribunal. He thought about Lily, about the distance growing between them, about all the ways fear masqueraded as anger. I have a daughter, he said quietly, about your age. And lately she looks at me like I'm the enemy, like everything I do is wrong. Some days I think maybe she'd be better off without me trying so hard. Mia was listening now, her shoulders less rigid. But here's the thing I'm learning, Julian continued. People who love you don't give up. They just struggle, badly sometimes. And it looks like giving up, but it's actually the opposite. It's staying even when you don't know how. He glanced at Sienna. She was crying now, silent tears mixing with rain. Your sister isn't going anywhere, Julian said. Trust me, I've seen the way she fights for you. She's terrified and exhausted, and probably doing half of it wrong. But she's not leaving. You're stuck with her. Mia's face crumpled. She turned and buried herself in Sienna's shoulder, sobbing. Sienna wrapped both arms around her, holding on like Mia might disappear if she let go. Julian stood, giving them privacy. He walked back to the car, started the engine to get the heat running, and waited. When they finally climbed in, Mia in the back, Sienna in the passenger seat, nobody spoke. But Sienna reached across the console and took Julian's hand, squeezing once. He drove them home through the rain, and for the first time in 3 years, he felt like maybe he was doing something right. The cafe was quieter than usual when they met the following Tuesday. Mia looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. Lily kept shooting her worried glances. Julian had brought extra pencils and fresh graph paper, but the energy felt fragile, like everyone was walking on eggshells. So, he said, settling into his chair, quadratic equations, everyone's favorite. Mia groaned. Can we not? We absolutely cannot, Julian agreed. But your test is Friday, so we're doing it anyway. Across the table, Sienna was sketching again, but this time she kept glancing up, watching Mia like she might vanish. Julian recognized that look. He wore it every time Lily left a room. They worked in silence for 20 minutes. Mia got 3 problems right in a row, and something in her posture shifted. Less defensive, more engaged. You're getting better at this, Julian said. Don't jinx it, Mia muttered, but she almost smiled. Lily leaned over to check Mia's work. Wait, how did you do that step? You just moved the X to the other side by... Mia paused, then walked Lily through it, explaining it in a way Julian hadn't thought to try. He sat back, watching the 2 girls bend over the notebook together, teaching each other, speaking the same language. Sienna caught his eye. She mouthed, "Thank you." He shook his head slightly. "You did this." Her expression softened. She went back to sketching, but now there was something lighter in the way she held her pencil. Less weight. When the session ended and the girls headed outside to wait, Sienna stayed behind to gather her things. Julian helped her stack papers, their hands brushing as they reached for the same notebook. "Last week," Sienna said quietly, not looking at him, "when you came to help find Mia, I didn't thank you properly." "You don't need to thank me." "I do, though, because you didn't have to do that. You barely know us." She finally met his eyes. "But you showed up anyway, like it was the most natural thing in the world." Julian's throat felt tight. "I know what it's like to feel like you're drowning. Someone should have thrown me a rope 3 years ago. I'm just passing it forward." Sienna's hand found his. Not a quick squeeze this time. She held on, her fingers laced through his, grounding. "You're a good man, Julian," she whispered. And Julian, who hadn't felt good at anything in so long, almost believed her. It started with a text from Lily. "Mia invited me over to study. Can I go?" Julian stared at his phone like it had sprouted wings. Lily, who barely spoke to him, was asking permission to go somewhere. Willingly, with a friend. He typed back, "Of course. Want me to drive you?" Sienna said she'd pick me up. "Thanks." 20 minutes later, Sienna's beat-up Honda pulled into his driveway. Julian watched from the window as Lily grabbed her backpack and headed out, actually smiling. Then Sienna rolled down the window. "Hey, you busy?" He was supposed to be reviewing blueprints for the community center. Instead, he found himself shaking his head. "Good. I'm stress baking and I need someone to eat the results before I consume my body weight in chocolate chip cookies. Interested?" Julian grabbed his jacket. Sienna's apartment was small. 1 bedroom, a cramped kitchen, an easel shoved in the corner of the living room. But it felt lived in, warm. Art prints tacked to the walls, Books stacked on every surface, a half-finished puzzle spread across the coffee table. The girls had disappeared into Mia's room, music already blasting. Sienna pulled a tray of cookies from the oven, the smell rich and sweet. "So," she said, sliding 3 cookies onto a plate for him, "how does it feel to have Lily voluntarily leaving the house for social activities?" "Surreal." Julian bit into a cookie, still warm, the chocolate melting. "These are incredible, by the way. Stress baking is my superpower." Sienna leaned against the counter, her own cookie. They fell into easy conversation, trading stories about their weeks, the absurdity of parenting teenagers, the projects they weren't working on. Sienna showed him the children's book she'd been illustrating, pages spread across the kitchen table. Julian found himself leaning close, watching the way her hands moved as she explained her process. "This part," she said, pointing to a half-finished rocket ship, "is giving me hell. I can't get the proportions right. It looks clunky." Julian studied it. "Can I?" She handed him a pencil. He sketched a few quick lines, adjusting angles, tightening the structure. Architectural thinking applied to illustration. "Oh," Sienna breathed. Yeah, that's it." Their faces were inches apart. Julian could smell paint and vanilla, see the flecks of amber in her eyes. His hand stilled on the paper. "Sienna," he started. The kitchen felt too small suddenly, too warm. She was looking at him like he'd just solved an impossible equation. And Julian realized with startling clarity that he wanted to kiss her. Wanted it so badly his hands were shaking. But before he could move, Mia's door burst open. "Sienna, do we have any?" Mia stopped, taking in the scene. "Oh, sorry." The moment shattered. Julian stepped back, clearing his throat. Sienna turned to the fridge, her cheeks flushed. "Any what, Mia?" "Popcorn, for the movie." Cabinet above the stove. Mia grabbed the popcorn, shot them both a knowing look, and disappeared back into her room. Julian and Sienna stood in the kitchen, not quite looking at each other. "I should," Julian gestured vaguely toward the door. "Yeah, probably." But neither of them moved. Finally, Sienna laughed, soft, self-deprecating. "This is a disaster, isn't it?" "Complete train wreck," Julian agreed. "Good, just checking." He left 20 minutes later, after the girls emerged for popcorn, and declared the study session a success. But as he drove home, Julian couldn't stop thinking about the way Sienna had looked at him in that kitchen, like he was something worth wanting. It had been so long since he'd felt that. He'd almost forgotten what it was like. The bookstore was closed again, but this time, Sienna had texted him. "Emergency. Need tall person ASAP." Julian arrived to find her on a stepladder, trying to rehang a shelf that had come loose from the wall. "If you drop that on your head, I'm not explaining to Mia why I let you die," he said. "Then help me before I drop it on my head." He climbed up beside her, the ladder barely wide enough for 2, and took the shelf. Together they maneuvered it back into place. Sienna's shoulder pressed against his, her breath warm on his neck. "There," she said. "Hold it steady." Julian held while she screwed in the brackets. She smelled like sawdust and something floral. His hands were shaking again. "Done." Sienna climbed down. Julian followed, and when he reached the floor, she was standing close. Too close. "Thanks for coming," she said quietly. "You know, I'll always come." The words hung between them, heavier than he'd meant. Sienna's eyes searched his face. "Julian." "I know." He swallowed hard. "I know this is complicated. I know we shouldn't. I have Lily, and you have Mia, and we're already barely holding things together. But," she whispered, "but I can't stop thinking about you." The confession felt like falling. "I can't stop wanting to be near you, and I don't know what to do with that." Sienna's hand came up, fingers brushing his jaw. Feather light. "Me neither," she admitted. They stood there in the empty bookstore, rain drumming on the roof. The world narrowed down to the space between their bodies. Julian leaned in, slow, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met soft and tentative, like testing uncertain ground. Then Sienna's hand fisted in his shirt and pulled him closer, and the kiss deepened. Desperate. 3 years of loneliness and fear and want pouring into it. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Sienna pressed her forehead to his. "We're really doing this," she whispered. "Are we?" "I think so," she laughed, shaky. "God help us." Julian kissed her again, slower this time, savoring, memorizing. The way she fit against him, the small sounds she made when his hand curved around her waist. They didn't talk about what came next. Not yet. For now, this was enough. Julian lay awake at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling. In the next room, Lily was asleep. Probably, he hoped. His mind kept circling back to Sienna. The kiss. The way she'd looked at him like he was someone worth holding on to. But underneath the want, guilt churned. He got up, padding quietly to his office. Pulled open the bottom drawer where he kept the photos he couldn't bear to display, but couldn't bring himself to throw away. His wedding album. Pictures of Sarah smiling, Sarah pregnant with Lily, Sarah holding their newborn daughter with tears streaming down her face. Sarah, who would never know that he'd kissed someone else, that he'd started to feel again. Julian's hands shook as he closed the album. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the empty room. But sorry for what? For moving on? For being alive when she wasn't? For wanting something beyond the grief that had swallowed the last 3 years? He thought about Lily's words. Mom never had to try this hard. Because Sarah had been there from the beginning, she'd understood Lily in a way Julian never would, spoke her language fluently. And now he was trying to build a relationship with a woman who was nothing like Sarah. Younger, messier, still figuring out her own life. What would Lily think if she knew? The thought made his chest tighten. Lily, who already resented him for not being enough, who looked at him like a stranger. Julian put the album away, went back to bed, lay awake until dawn, thinking in circles. By morning, he'd made a decision. He needed to talk to Lily. Actually talk. No more dancing around the grief that lived between them. But when she emerged for breakfast, headphones in, phone already scrolling, she barely glanced at him. "Morning," he tried. Can we talk?" "Busy." "Lily, I'm serious." She finally looked up, irritation flashing. "What, Dad?" Julian's courage wavered, but he pushed through. "I miss you. I miss talking to you. I miss knowing what's going on in your life. And I know I'm not Mom. And I know I'm doing half of it wrong, but I'm trying. I need you to know I'm trying." Lily's expression shuddered. "I know." "Do you?" "Yes, okay, I know you're trying, but knowing doesn't make it easier." "Easier how?" "To watch you replace her." The words landed like a punch. Julian froze. "What?" "Sienna." Lily's voice was flat. "You think I don't notice? The way you look at her? The way you're suddenly around all the time? It's obvious, Dad." Julian's mind raced. "Lily, it's not—" "Save it." She stood, grabbing her bag. "I don't want to hear it." She was gone before he could form a response. The door slammed. The house fell silent. Julian sat at the kitchen table, head in his hands, and wondered how everything had gone so wrong, so fast. "She knows," Julian said without preamble when Sienna opened her door. It was 7 in the morning. Sienna was still in pajamas, her hair a mess. She blinked at him, confused. "Who knows what?" "Lily, about us, about whatever this is." He gestured helplessly between them. Sienna's face went pale. She stepped back, letting him in. The apartment was quiet. Mia must still be asleep. "What did she say?" "That I'm replacing her mother." Julian's voice cracked. "That it's obvious I have feelings for you, and that she doesn't want to hear about it." Sienna sank onto the couch, pulling a blanket around her shoulders. Okay, okay, that's fixable, right? We just need to talk to her. Explain that. Explain what? That I've fallen for someone when I can barely keep my relationship with my own daughter intact? Julian ran a hand through his hair. This was a mistake, Sienna. She flinched. Don't say that. It's true. We're both drowning. We can't save each other. I'm not trying to save you. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were bright. I'm just trying to be here. Isn't that allowed? Julian wanted to say yes, wanted to pull her close and promise that they'd figure it out together. But all he could see was Lily's face, hurt and angry and scared. I can't lose her, he whispered. She's all I have left of Sarah. If I push her away for us, I'll never forgive myself. Sienna stood, closing the distance between them. Her hands found his face, forcing him to look at her. Then don't push her away. Fight for her, but don't push me away either. Please, Julian, we can make this work. Can we? Because it feels like I'm tearing everything apart. You're not. Her voice was fierce. You're just scared, and I get it. But don't run because it's hard. That's not who you are. Julian kissed her, hard and desperate, like maybe if he held on tight enough, he could keep from falling apart. When they broke apart, Sienna was crying. I need time, Julian said, to fix things with Lily, to figure out how to do this without destroying everything. How much time? I don't know. Sienna's hands dropped from his face. She stepped back, wrapping the blanket tighter. Okay, she whispered, take your time. Julian left before he could change his mind, before he could see the way her face crumpled as the door closed behind him. 2 weeks later, Sienna texted, I'm done waiting. Julian stared at the message, his heart rabbiting in his chest. Another text. Meet me at the pier, 7 p.m., no kids, just us. He should say no. He should focus on Lily, on rebuilding what they'd lost. But instead, he texted back, I'll be there. The Seattle waterfront was cold and bright, the sun setting in shades of gold and coral. Sienna was waiting on a bench, bundled in a thick coat, her breath misting in the air. You came, she said. I always come. She smiled, tentative, hopeful. Good, because I have a plan. A plan? We stop hiding. We stop pretending this isn't happening. We tell the girls, we deal with the fallout, and we figure it out together. She stood, taking his hands. I'm tired of being scared, Julian. Aren't you? He was. God, he was so tired of being scared. What if they hate us? He asked. Then we deal with it, together. Julian pulled her close, kissing her like they were the only two people in the world. The pier was crowded, tourists taking photos, street musicians playing, the smell of fried food in salt water. But all Julian could feel was Sienna, warm and solid and real, in his arms. Okay, he murmured against her lips. Together. They walked the pier hand in hand, talking about nothing and everything. Sienna told him about a new commission, a series of illustrations for a poetry collection. Julian told her about the community center, how the design was finally coming together. They bought overpriced coffee and sat on the edge of the pier, legs dangling, watching the ferries cross the water. I like this, Sienna said. Us, without the weight of everything else. Me too. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Think the girls will forgive us? Eventually, maybe. Julian kissed the top of her head. But even if it takes a while, I'm not letting you go. Good, because I'm not letting you go either. They stayed until the sun disappeared and the city lit up around them. Two people finding their way through the dark. Julian wasn't trying to hide it when Lily came home early. He and Sienna were in the living room, curled up on the couch, her sketch pad open on his lap as she explained her latest project. Their shoulders touched. His arm was around her waist. The door opened. Lily stopped dead in the entryway, keys dangling from her hand. Julian and Sienna sprang apart like teenagers caught by parents, but the damage was done. Lily, Julian started. Don't. Her voice was ice. Just don't. Let me explain. Explain what? That you've been lying to me? That this whole we're just helping each other thing was bullshit? Lily's eyes were bright, her hands shaking. I knew it. I knew you'd do this. Sienna stood, her hands raised in a placating gesture. Lily, we didn't mean for it to happen like this. Like what? You didn't mean to fall for my dad while pretending to help him figure out how to talk to me? Lily's laugh was sharp. That's so much worse. That's not fair, Julian said. You want to talk about fair? Lily whirled on him. Mom's been gone 3 years and you've already moved on. 3 years, Dad. Do you even care? Of course I care. Julian's voice broke. I think about her every single day. But she's gone, Lily. She's not coming back. And I can't spend the rest of my life alone because you're not ready for me to be happy. Lily recoiled like he'd slapped her. I never said you couldn't be happy. I said don't replace her. I'm not replacing anyone. Yes, you are. You're replacing her with someone who doesn't even understand you, who doesn't know us, she gestured wildly at Sienna, who's basically a kid herself. Sienna flinched. I'm 26, and you can't even take care of your own sister, Lily spat. What makes you think you can handle my dad? The words hung in the air, venomous. Julian moved between them. Lily, that's enough. No, it's not. Tears streamed down her face now. You don't get it. You don't get what it's like watching you move on when I'm still stuck. Still missing her every day. Still feeling like half of me is gone. Her voice cracked on the last word. She crumpled, sinking to the floor. Julian dropped beside her, pulling her into his arms. She fought for a second, then gave in, sobbing into his shoulder. Sienna stood frozen, her face pale. I'm sorry, Lily gasped. I'm sorry, I didn't mean… Shh, it's okay. Julian held her tighter. I'm sorry too. I should have told you. I should have been honest. I'm scared, Dad. I'm so scared all the time. I know, baby. Me too. Over Lily's shoulder, Julian met Sienna's eyes. She was crying too, silent tears tracking down her face. He mouthed, I'm sorry. She shook her head, mouthed back, fix this. Then she quietly left, closing the door behind her. And Julian held his daughter and let her cry, wondering if he'd just lost both of them. Lily wouldn't talk to him for 2 days. She went to school, came home, locked herself in her room. Julian left food outside her door. Sometimes she ate it, sometimes she didn't. On the 3rd day, he couldn't take it anymore. He knocked. Lily, please, I need to talk to you. Silence. I'm coming in. He opened the door. Lily was curled on her bed, headphones on, staring at the wall. She didn't move when he sat on the edge of the mattress. Julian waited, let the silence stretch. Finally, Lily pulled off the headphones. What? I loved your mom, he said quietly. I loved her so much it felt like my chest would crack open. When she died, I didn't know how to keep breathing. Some days, I still don't. Lily's jaw tightened, but she didn't interrupt. But loving Sienna doesn't mean I stopped loving your mom. It just means I found someone who makes the world feel a little less empty. He swallowed hard. I'm not replacing her, Lily. I'm just trying to survive. It doesn't feel like surviving, Lily whispered. It feels like you're leaving her behind, leaving me behind. Never. Julian reached for her hand. She let him take it. You are the most important person in my life. Nothing and no one will ever change that. Not Sienna, not anyone. Then why does it feel like I'm losing you? Because I've been so focused on trying to fix us that I forgot to just be with you. He squeezed her hand. I'm sorry, I got lost, but I'm here now. I'm listening. Lily's eyes filled with tears. I miss her, Dad. I miss her so much. Me too. And I'm mad at her for leaving. And I'm mad at you for not being her. And I'm mad at myself for being mad. She wiped her eyes roughly. And then you have Sienna, and she's nice, and Mia's actually kind of cool, and I hate that I like them because it feels like betraying mom. Julian pulled her into a hug. Your mom would want you to be happy, Lil. She'd want both of us to be happy, even if that's hard to believe right now. Lily cried into his shoulder. He held her and let himself cry too. When they finally pulled apart, Lily's face was blotchy but calmer. I don't know if I'm ready for you to date Sienna, she said, but I don't want you to be alone either. We'll figure it out, together, at whatever pace you need. Okay, she took a shaky breath. Can I ask you something? Anything. Do you love her, Sienna? Julian's heart squeezed. I think I'm starting to. Yeah. Lily nodded slowly. Okay, then I'll try. I can't promise I won't be weird about it, but I'll try. That's all I'm asking. She hugged him again, tighter this time. Love you, Dad. Love you too, kiddo, so much. The bookstore was Lily's idea. We should go see them, she said one morning over breakfast. Sienna and Mia. I kind of owe them an apology. Julian looked up from his coffee, surprised. You don't have to. I do, though. I said some really mean stuff. Lily pushed eggs around her plate. Mia texted me. She said Sienna's been sad, and I feel bad. Pride swelled in Julian's chest. Okay, let's go. They found Sienna restocking shelves in the back. She looked up when the bell chimed, and her whole face transformed when she saw them. Hi, Julian said. Hi. Her eyes were wary, hopeful. Lily stepped forward before Julian could. I'm sorry for what I said about you not being able to take care of Mia. That was really mean. Sienna's eyes softened. It's okay. You were hurt. Still mean, though. Lily scuffed her shoe against the floor. And for the record, I think you're doing a good job. With Mia. And with my dad. Sienna's smile was tremulous. Thank you. But if you hurt him, I'll make your life hell. Noted. Julian watched them, his daughter and the woman he was falling for, finding their way towards something like understanding. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Mia appeared from the stacks, saw them, and broke into a grin. Lily, finally! I was about to stage an intervention. The girls hugged. Then Mia turned to Julian. You good? Getting there, he said. Cool. Come on, Lil. I need your opinion on something. They disappeared into the aisles, leaving Julian and Sienna alone. Hey, he said softly. Hey yourself. I'm sorry for everything, for hurting you, for... Sienna kissed him, quick and sweet. Stop apologizing. We're okay. Are we? Yeah, she threaded her fingers through his. We're okay. It happened fast. 1 minute the four of them were having dinner at Sienna's apartment, laughter and easy conversation, Mia and Lily plotting something on Mia's phone. The next, Lily stood abruptly, her face pale. I need air. Lil? Julian stood too. What's wrong? Nothing, She was looking at the fridge, where Sienna had hung one of her sketches. A quick doodle of Julian, done in blue ink. Lily? Mom used to draw you. Her voice was small, breaking. Just like that, in the margins of grocery lists. Oh, Julian moved toward her, but she stepped back. I thought I could do this, Lily whispered. I thought I was okay, but I'm not. I'm really not. Lily, please. I can't watch you build a new life like the old one never happened. Tears streamed down her face. I can't, I'm sorry. She grabbed her coat and ran. Julian started after her, but Sienna caught his arm. Let me. Sienna. Trust me. She was out the door before he could argue. Julian sank into a chair, his head in his hands. Mia hovered nearby, uncertain. She'll be okay, Mia said quietly. Sienna's good at this. What if she's not? What if I broke everything? Then you fix it. Mia's voice was surprisingly steady. That's what parents do, right? They fix things. Julian looked at this 13-year-old girl who'd had to grow up too fast, who understood brokenness better than most adults. "When did you get so wise?" he asked. Mia shrugged. "Trauma makes you mature real quick." Despite everything, Julian almost laughed. Sienna found Lily on the steps outside the apartment building, knees pulled to her chest. "Can I sit?" she asked. Lily shrugged. Sienna sat, leaving space between them. The night was cold, Seattle lights glittering in the distance. "I'm not trying to replace your mom," Sienna said after a long silence. "Everyone keeps saying that." "Because it's true. I couldn't replace her even if I wanted to. She was yours in a way I'll never be." Sienna hugged her knees. "But here's the thing, Lily. Your dad isn't trying to forget her. He's trying to survive losing her, and that's not the same thing." "It feels the same." "I know, but it's not." Sienna took a breath. "When my parents divorced and left me with Mia, I was terrified I'd screw it up, that I'd fail her. And for a long time, I did. I was angry and scared, and I took it out on her, and she took it out on me, and we were both just drowning." Lily glanced over, listening. "Your dad pulled me out of that. Him and you and this weird little family we accidentally built. You saved me, Lily. All of you." Sienna's voice cracked. "So if you need me to step back so you and your dad can heal, I will. But don't punish him for trying to be happy. He deserves that much." Lily was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was raw. "I don't want him to forget her. He won't. Love doesn't work like that. It just grows, makes room for more people." Sienna hesitated. "Your mom will always be part of him, part of you. Nothing changes that." "Promise?" "Promise." Lily leaned against Sienna's shoulder. They sat like that, watching the city breathe. "I'm sorry I've been awful," Lily whispered. "You haven't. You've been honest. That's braver." When they finally went back inside, Julian was pacing the apartment like a caged animal. He stopped when he saw them, his eyes searching Lily's face. "I'm okay," Lily said. "We're okay." But when Julian reached for Sienna later, after the girls had gone to Mia's room, she stepped back. "I can't do this," she said quietly. Julian's heart stopped. "What?" "I can't be the reason your family falls apart. I can't watch Lily hurt like this and know I'm part of it." Sienna's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "You need to fix things with her, really fix them. And I need to focus on Mia. We're both barely holding it together as it is." "Sienna, please, don't do this." "I have to." She pressed a hand to his chest. "You're a good man, Julian, the best I've ever known. But your daughter needs you more than I do. And I need to stop pretending I can fix my own life when it's still in pieces." "So that's it? We just give up?" "No, we just pause." Her voice broke. "Fix your family, fix mine. And maybe, if we're both still standing when the dust settles, we can try again." Julian wanted to argue, wanted to fight, but he saw the pain in her eyes and knew she was right. "I love you," he said. "I need you to know that." "I know." She kissed him once, soft and lingering. "I love you too. That's why I'm letting you go." She pulled away, walked to Mia's room, closed the door. And Julian stood alone in the apartment, wondering how doing the right thing could feel so much like dying. The community center blueprints sat untouched on Julian's desk for a week. He'd told his client he needed time, personal emergency. They'd been understanding, but the deadline loomed anyway, indifferent to his imploding life. Julian sat at his drafting table, pencil in hand, staring at blank paper. The design was supposed to be his masterpiece, the thing that proved he could still create something beautiful after everything had fallen apart. But every line he drew felt wrong, lifeless. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily. "Going to Mia's after school. That okay?" At least that was something. The girls had stayed close, even after everything. Maybe especially after everything. They understood each other in a way Julian and Sienna never quite had. He typed back, "Of course. Home by 8? Yeah." Julian set the phone down and tried again with the blueprints. He sketched a doorway, erased it. Sketched a window, erased that too. Everything felt like too much effort. The apartment was too quiet. It had been quiet before Sienna, but that was different. That was the silence of grief, familiar and almost comforting in its constancy. This silence was new, the absence of something he'd only just discovered he needed. His phone buzzed again, this time a notification from the bookstore's social media. They'd posted a photo, Sienna's latest illustration for the children's book, a rocket ship soaring through a starfield. Julian zoomed in on the image. The rocket's proportions were perfect. The lines he'd helped her adjust. She'd kept his suggestions. His chest ached. He closed the app, put his phone face down, and forced himself to work. One line at a time. One window. One door. Building something, even if it felt like building toward nothing. Sienna hadn't painted in 3 weeks. Her easel stood in the corner, canvas blank, brushes gathering dust. The children's book was finished, turned in on deadline somehow, but she couldn't bring herself to start the next project. Her hands felt wrong, empty. Mia noticed. Of course she did. "You're moping," she said one afternoon, flopping onto the couch beside Sienna. "I'm not moping. I'm resting." "You're staring at the wall like it personally offended you. That's moping." Mia nudged her shoulder. "He's moping too, you know. Lily says he's basically a zombie." Sienna's throat tightened. "That's not my problem." "Liar." "Mia, you love him. He loves you. You're both miserable. This is literally the dumbest thing I've ever seen." Mia crossed her arms. "And I'm 13, so I've seen a lot of dumb things." "It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because..." Sienna stopped, tried to find words for the tangle of fear and guilt and longing. "Because Lily needs him, and you need me, and we were using each other as life rafts when we both needed to learn how to swim on our own." Mia was quiet for a long moment. "That's a really poetic way of saying you're scared." "I am scared, terrified actually." "Of what?" "Of screwing this up, of dragging Julian and Lily into our mess, of not being enough for you, for him, for anyone." Sienna's voice cracked. "I'm 26, Mia. I can barely keep us afloat. How am I supposed to help someone else's family too?" Mia scooted closer, leaning her head on Sienna's shoulder. "You know what Lily said last week?" "What?" "She said you're the strongest person she knows, because you're raising me and working and still making time to care about other people." Mia's voice went soft. "She said her dad looks at you like you hung the stars, and that she's never seen him that happy, not since her mom." Tears spilled down Sienna's cheeks. "That just makes it worse. I can't compete with that." "You're not competing, you're just there, being you. That's enough, Sienna." "What if it's not? Then we figure it out, together, like we always do." Mia squeezed her hand. "But you have to actually try. You can't just give up because it's scary." Sienna wiped her eyes, laughing despite herself. "When did you become the wise one?" "I've always been wise. You just weren't listening." That night, after Mia went to bed, Sienna pulled out her phone, scrolled to Julian's contact. Her thumb hovered over the call button. She didn't press it. But she didn't delete his number either. "This is ridiculous," Lily said, sprawled on Mia's bedroom floor. "They're both acting like martyrs in a Shakespeare play." "Right?" Mia tossed a stress ball at the ceiling, catching it. "My sister cries every time she sees a couple holding hands. Your dad looks like a sad Victorian ghost. It's pathetic. We have to do something." "Agreed, but what?" They brainstormed for an hour, increasingly elaborate schemes that range from parent trap-style manipulation to just locking them in a room together until they talked. "Wait," Lily sat up. "What if we just told them the truth?" "What truth?" "That we're okay with it, that we want them to be together." Lily chewed her lip. "I mean, I'm still working through stuff about my mom, But I don't want my dad to be alone forever. And he's happy with Sienna, actually happy. Mia studied her. You're serious? Yeah, are you? Sienna's been miserable without him. She pretends she's fine, but she's not. She needs him. Mia's voice went quiet. And I think I need him too. Like as a stable adult figure who actually knows what he's doing. Is that weird? No, Julian's pretty great, Lily smiled, for a sad Victorian ghost. They hatched a plan. Simple, direct, impossible to ignore. The next day, they both skipped their last period and met at the cafe, the same one where everything had started. Lily texted her dad, "Emergency, meet me at the cafe, now." Mia texted Sienna, "Need you, cafe, ASAP." Then they waited, hot chocolates in hand, for their respective adults to show up in a panic. Julian arrived first, breathless and pale. "Lily, what's wrong? Are you hurt?" "Nope." Lily took a sip of cocoa. "Then why?" Sienna burst through the door. "Mia, what happened? Are you—" She stopped, seeing Julian. "Oh. Oh," Julian echoed. The girls exchanged grins. "Sit," Mia commanded. They sat, wary, confused. "Here's the thing," Lily said, her voice steady. "You two are being stupid. You love each other. We know it. You know it. The only people pretending otherwise are you." "Lily," Julian started. "Nope, I'm talking. You don't get to interrupt." She took a breath. "I was scared, okay? I was scared of losing you to someone who wasn't Mom. But I'm not scared anymore. Because Sienna's not trying to replace her. She's just adding to our family. And that's okay." Sienna's eyes were bright. She opened her mouth, but Mia cut her off. "And you," she said, pointing at her sister. "You keep saying you're not good enough, that you'll mess everything up. But guess what? You already are messing up. By pushing away the first good thing that's happened to us in years." "Mia, I'm not done. Julian makes you happy. He makes you laugh. He helps you see that you're not failing me, even when you think you are. And you make him happy too. Like genuinely, stupidly happy. So why are you both pretending that's a bad thing?" Silence. Julian looked at Sienna. Sienna looked back. "Kids are smarter than us," Julian said quietly. "Apparently," Sienna agreed. Lily pushed her cocoa across the table toward her dad. "So figure it out, please, because watching you both be miserable is killing us." Julian reached for Sienna's hand. She let him take it. "I'm sorry," he said, "for letting you go, for thinking I had to choose." "I'm sorry too," Sienna whispered, "for running when it got hard." "So you'll stop being stupid?" Mia asked hopefully. They laughed, broken, relieved. "Yeah," Julian said, "we'll stop being stupid." Lily and Mia high-fived across the table. And for the first time in weeks, the world felt like it might be okay. They started slow. Coffee dates without the kids. Walks through the city. Careful conversations where they actually said what they meant instead of dancing around the hard parts. "I'm terrified I'll fail you," Sienna admitted one afternoon, rain drumming against the bookstore windows. They were in the back room again, surrounded by books and dust, impossibility. "You won't," Julian said. "You can't know that." "I can, because failing would mean giving up, and you don't give up. Not on Mia, not on your art, not on anything." He reached for her hand. "That's not who you are." Sienna's eyes searched his face. "What if I fail anyway?" "Then we figure it out. Together. That's the whole point." Julian pulled her close. "I'm done trying to do this alone, Sienna. I'm done pretending I don't need you." "I need you too," she whispered. "So much it scares me." He kissed her, slow and sure, like they had all the time in the world. When they finally told the girls they were officially trying again, Mia just rolled her eyes. "Finally, took you long enough." Lily was quieter, but that night she knocked on Julian's bedroom door. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Always." She sat on the edge of his bed, picking at her nail polish. I'm trying to be okay with this. With you and Sienna. I know, but sometimes I'm still sad about Mom, about everything changing. Her voice was small. Is that okay? Julian pulled her into a hug. That's more than okay. You can be sad and happy at the same time, Lil. Feelings aren't binary. I just don't want you to think I'm ungrateful. Because I'm not. I like Sienna. And Mia. She trailed off. You just miss your mom, Julian finished. And that's never going away. It'll get easier, but it'll always be there. And that's okay too. Lily hugged him tighter. Thanks, Dad. For what? For not pretending it's simple. They stayed like that for a long time, holding on to each other in the quiet. The community center design finally came together. Julian spread the blueprints across his dining table, and Sienna studied them with an artist's eye. It's beautiful, she said softly, tracing the lines. The way you've used light here, it's like the building is breathing. That's the idea. I wanted it to feel alive, like a space people actually want to be in, not just pass through. You did it, she looked up at him. This is your best work, isn't it? Julian nodded. I think so. I couldn't have finished it without you, though. I didn't do anything. You reminded me why I cared, why any of this matters. He took her hand. You gave me a reason to keep building. Sienna's eyes shimmered. I love you, you know that? I love you too. They'd said it before, in desperate moments and stolen kisses. But this felt different, calmer, like a foundation instead of a lifeline. The door burst open, Mia and Lily, carrying shopping bags and laughing about something. We bought ingredients for dinner, Lily announced. Mia's teaching me how to make pasta from scratch. This will be a disaster, Mia added cheerfully, but a fun disaster. Julian and Sienna exchanged amused looks. Need help? Sienna offered. Nope. You two stay out of the kitchen. We're handling this. Lily shooed them away. So they sat in the living room, listening to the chaos of teenage cooking, laughter and crashes, and the smell of burnt garlic. And Julian realized that this messy, imperfect, beautiful thing they were building felt like home. Sienna's gallery show was in 3 weeks, and she was drowning. She'd agreed to exhibit a series of paintings based on her children's bookwork, but the pressure was crushing. Every canvas looked wrong. Every brushstroke felt forced. I can't do this, she told Julian late one night, paint-stained and exhausted. I'm going to cancel. Tell them I'm not ready. You are ready. You haven't even seen the paintings. Then show me. She led him to her studio, a cramped space she'd been renting across town. 8 canvases lined the walls, half-finished, bleeding color and emotion. Julian walked slowly from piece to piece, studying them in silence. Sienna's stomach twisted. They're terrible, aren't they? They're extraordinary. His voice was quiet, awed. Sienna, God, they're incredible. Why would you think otherwise? Because they're raw, messy, not polished or perfect or... They're honest, Julian interrupted. That's what makes them powerful. You're not hiding behind technique. You're just there, on the canvas. Sienna looked at the paintings with fresh eyes, saw what he saw, vulnerability and strength, pain and joy woven together. You really think they're good? She asked. I think they're going to change your life. She kissed him, hard and grateful. Thank you. For what? For seeing me, even when I can't see myself. The gallery show sold out. 3 paintings went to private collectors, 2 to a museum. Sienna cried when the curator asked about a follow-up exhibition, and Julian stood beside her through all of it, proud and steady, and hers. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. Lily left it on the kitchen counter, unopened, and disappeared into her room. Julian stared at the envelope. Yale University, embossed in blue, and his heart stopped. She'd applied to Yale. Early decision, and hadn't told him. He knocked on her door. Lil? I know, I should have told you. Can I come in? She opened the door. Her face was pale, eyes red like she'd been crying. Julian sat on her bed. Why didn't you say anything? Because if I didn't get in, I didn't want you to be disappointed. And if I did, she swallowed hard. If I did, it means leaving, going across the country, and I wasn't sure I was ready for that. Are you now? I don't know. Lily sank down beside him. Part of me wants to run as far from here as possible, start over somewhere Mom never was. But part of me is terrified to leave you, especially now with Sienna and everything changing. Julian's throat was tight. You should open it. What if it's a rejection? Then we'll deal with it, together. Lily picked up the envelope with shaking hands, tore it open, read in silence. Then she started crying. Lil? Julian's heart rabbited. What does it say? I got in, her voice broke. Full scholarship. They want me, Dad. They actually want me. Julian pulled her into a crushing hug. Of course they do. You're brilliant. I don't know if I can go. Why not? Because, she pulled back, wiping her eyes, because you and Sienna just figured things out. And Mia's like a sister now. And leaving feels like abandoning all of you. Lily, Julian took her face in his hands. You are allowed to have your own life, your own dreams. Leaving isn't abandoning us. It's growing up. And I'm so damn proud of you. You won't be alone? I won't be alone. I have Sienna. You have your whole future. He smiled through his own tears. Your mom would be so proud. I'm so proud. Lily hugged him again, and they stayed like that, crying and laughing and trying to process the magnitude of it all. That night, Sienna came over. The four of them, Julian, Sienna, Lily, and Mia, ordered pizza and celebrated. Mia made a toast about Lily being too cool for them anyway. Lily threw a pillow at her head. And Julian watched his daughter shine, surrounded by people who loved her, and thought maybe he'd done something right after all. Move in with me. Julian said it on a random Thursday while they were grocery shopping. Sienna nearly dropped the bag of apples she was holding. What? Move in. You and Mia. My place is bigger. It's closer to Mia's school and He swallowed. I want you there. I want to wake up next to you. I want this to be real. Sienna stared at him. Julian, that's huge. I know. We've only been officially together for 3 months. I know that too. And Mia, she's just getting stable, changing schools, moving. It could throw her off. Or it could give her the family she's been missing. Julian set down the basket he was carrying. I'm not saying it's easy or simple, but I love you, Sienna. I love Mia, and I think we could build something beautiful together, if you're willing to try. Sienna's eyes filled with tears. You're serious. Completely. She kissed him right there in the produce aisle, not caring who saw. Yes, she whispered against his mouth. Yes, we'll move in. But when they told the girls, Mia's reaction wasn't what they expected. No, Sienna blinked. What? I said no. Mia crossed her arms, her face set. I'm not moving. Mia, we talked about this. No, you talked about this. You and Julian decided without asking me. Again. Her voice rose. You're always doing that, making choices for me like I don't matter. That's not... Sienna stopped, forcing herself to breathe. You're right. I should have asked first. I'm sorry. Mia looked surprised. Really? Really? This is your life too. You get a say. Julian stepped forward. Mia, can I say something? She shrugged. I'm not trying to replace your parents or force you into a life you don't want. But I care about you. A lot. And I think we could be good for each other. All of us. He knelt down to her level. But if you're not ready, that's okay. We'll figure out something else. Mia's defenses cracked. You mean it? I mean it. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, can I have my own room? With space for my art stuff? Julian smiled. Absolutely. And Lily won't be weird about it? Lily's thrilled. She already claimed you as her honorary sister. Mia's lips twitched. Okay, fine. We can move in. But if it sucks, I'm blaming you. Fair enough. That night, while Mia and Lily planned room layouts, Sienna pulled Julian aside. Thank you, she said. For what? For asking her opinion. For treating her like she matters. Sienna's voice was thick. My parents never did that. You're giving her something I never had. Julian kissed her forehead. We're giving each other something. That's the whole point. The report card came 2 weeks after they'd moved in. Mia had left it on the kitchen counter, face up, no attempt to hide it. Julian spotted it first while making coffee. All A's, 1 A- in English, but everything else, perfect. He heard footsteps behind him. Mia, already dressed for school, backpack slung over one shoulder. You saw it, she said, not a question. I saw it, Julian turned. Mia, this is incredible. She shrugged, but he could see the pride barely contained beneath the teenage nonchalance. The algebra helped, and you kept tutoring me even after, everything. Of course I did. Yeah, but you didn't have to. Mia moved closer, fingers drumming against her backpack strap. My dad never did. He'd help once, maybe twice, then get frustrated and give up. Said I needed to figure things out myself. Julian's chest tightened. He'd heard pieces of Mia and Sienna's story. The parents who'd prioritized their divorce over their children, who'd left 2 girls to fend for themselves. But hearing it directly from Mia hit differently. I'm not your dad, Julian said carefully, and I'm not trying to be, but I am here for as long as you'll let me. Mia's eyes went bright. She crossed the distance between them and hugged him, quick and fierce. Thanks, she whispered, for not giving up on me. Before he could respond, she pulled away, grabbed an apple from the fruit bowl, and headed for the door. But she paused at the threshold. Hey, Julian. Yeah? I'm glad Sienna found you. You're pretty okay for an old guy. He laughed. I'm 34. Like I said, old. She grinned and disappeared. Sienna emerged from the bedroom, hair wet from the shower. What was that about? Julian showed her the report card. She burst into tears. Happy ones this time. She did it. She actually did it. She did. Julian pulled her close. You both did. The ultrasound appointment was in 3 days, and Sienna couldn't sleep. She lay in bed beside Julian, watching shadows play across the ceiling, her hand pressed to her still flat stomach. 8 weeks, barely the size of a raspberry, the internet said. But already everything felt different. Terrifying. What if she couldn't do this? She'd barely figured out how to be Mia's guardian. How was she supposed to raise an actual baby? With midnight feedings and diapers and all the ways she could catastrophically screw up another human life. You're spiraling, Julian murmured beside her. I'm not spiraling. Your breathing changed. You only breathe like that when you're spiraling. He rolled onto his side, finding her in the dark. Talk to me. I can't do this, she whispered. I'm going to be a terrible mother. That's not true. You don't know that. I'm 27, Julian. I'm still figuring out how to adult. I burn toast. I forget to pay bills. Last week I wore mismatched socks for 3 days before Mia pointed it out. Sienna. And what if the baby looks at me the way Mia used to? Like I'm failing. Like I'm not enough. Her voice cracked. I can't survive that again. Julian sat up, pulling her with him. Turned on the bedside lamp so he could see her face. Look at me, he said gently. She did. You are enough. You've always been enough. Mia knows it. I know it. And this baby will know it too. He placed his hand over hers on her stomach. You're not doing this alone, remember? We're a team. But what if? No what ifs. We'll figure it out. One day at a time, one diaper at a time, one burnt piece of toast at a time. He smiled. And yes, you'll make mistakes. We both will. But love covers a multitude of burnt toast. Despite everything, Sienna laughed. That's not how the saying goes. It is now. She leaned into him, breathing in his steady certainty. I'm really scared. I know, me too. You are. Terrified. I barely survived raising Lily, and I had Sarah for 13 years. Starting from scratch at 34, with a partner I've only been with for a few months, it's insane. He kissed her temple. But it's our kind of insane, and I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else. Sienna turned, kissing him properly, slowly, letting the fear settle into something manageable. Okay, she whispered, one day at a time. One day at a time. Julian sat in the jewelry store, staring at a case full of engagement rings, and felt completely out of his depth. The saleswoman, Karen, according to her name tag, hovered nearby with the patience of someone used to panicked men. Any idea what style she'd like? Karen asked. Not a clue. Julian rubbed his face. She's an artist. Paints, draws, illustrates children's books. She's unconventional, creative, nothing too traditional, I think. Budget? He'd been saving. The community center had led to new clients, better projects. Money wasn't as tight as it used to be. 10,000? Maybe a bit more if it's perfect. Karen's expression shifted, serious now. Let me show you something. She pulled out a ring that made Julian's breath catch. Not a traditional solitaire. The center stone was a deep blue sapphire, surrounded by tiny diamonds that caught light like stars. The band was rose gold, delicate but strong. It's called Artist's Dream, Karen said. The sapphire represents creativity and wisdom. The design is modern but timeless, and it's one of a kind. No one else will have this exact ring. Julian picked it up, imagined it on Sienna's paint-stained finger. It's perfect, he said. You're sure? You don't want to look at others? I'm sure. He bought it on the spot, walked out with a small velvet box burning a hole in his jacket pocket. Now he just had to figure out how to propose. He called Lily that night. She was in her dorm, FaceTime propped against a stack of textbooks. Dad, what's wrong? You look weird. I bought a ring. Lily's eyes went huge. You're proposing? To Sienna? That's generally what rings are for, yeah. Oh my God, okay. She was grinning now. How are you doing it? Please tell me you have a plan better than proposing at a bookstore or something cliché. I was thinking at the community center opening. Public, meaningful, surrounded by people. Absolutely not, Julian blinked. Why not? Because Sienna's not a public proposal person. She'll hate being put on the spot like that. Lily's expression turned serious. Do it somewhere private, somewhere that means something to both of you. Just you and her. That's what she'll want. How do you know? Because I actually listen when she talks, Dad. Unlike you, who zones out whenever anyone discusses feelings. She softened. But seriously, make it intimate. Make it about you two. She'll say yes either way, but she'll love you more for getting it right. Julian smiled. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You're just slow. He hung up, pulled out the ring, and started planning. The bookstore closed at 7. Julian had arranged it with the new owner. An hour alone, just him and Sienna, in the place where everything had started. What's going on? Sienna asked as he led her through the locked front door. Why are we here? You'll see. He'd spent the afternoon setting it up. Candles scattered throughout the store, casting warm, amber light across the shelves. Her favorite playlist, the one she worked to in her studio, playing softly overhead. And in the reading nook, the spot where they'd first talked, 2 cups of coffee waiting. Sienna's hand flew to her mouth. Julian, what is this? Sit with me? They sat in the same spots they'd occupied a year ago. Julian handed her the coffee, made exactly how she liked it, oat milk, and honey. A year ago, he started, I came here looking for answers. How to fix my relationship with Lily. How to survive being a parent when I felt like I was failing every day. He took her hand. I didn't expect to find you. Sienna's eyes were already wet. Julian, let me finish, please. He took a breath. You taught me that fixing things isn't about having all the answers. It's about showing up, trying, building something together even when you don't know if it'll stand. He reached into his pocket, pulled out the velvet box. I want to keep building with you for the rest of our lives. He opened the box. Sienna gasped. Oh my God, it's beautiful. Sienna, will you marry me? Yes. She was laughing and crying at once. Yes, absolutely yes. He slid the ring under her finger, perfect fit, and kissed her in the bookstore where they'd first become allies in the trenches. I love you, she whispered. I love you too. They stayed there until the candles burned low, holding each other in the amber light, building their future one moment at a time. The moving truck arrived on a Saturday morning, fog rolling through Seattle streets. They didn't have much. Sienna and Mia had been living minimally for years, but every box felt significant, a piece of one life folding into another. Lily helped Mia set up her room, hanging string lights and arranging art supplies. Julian and Sienna unpacked the kitchen, finding rhythm in the mundane work. This is surreal, Sienna said, unwrapping plates. A year ago, I was barely keeping our heads above water. And now you have a dishwasher, Julian teased. She laughed. The dream. But later, when the boxes were mostly unpacked and the girls were asleep, Sienna stood in the living room and felt the weight of it all. What if I mess this up? She whispered. Julian came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Then we fix it, together. You keep saying that. Because it's true. We're a team now, Sienna. You don't have to carry everything alone anymore. She turned in his arms, burying her face in his chest. I'm so tired of being scared. I know, but you're also brave. Braver than you think. They swayed there in the half-lit room, finding comfort in each other's solid presence. Julian's community center opened on a crisp October morning. The whole neighborhood turned out. Families, local politicians, the clients who'd fought for years to make it happen. Julian stood at the ribbon cutting, trying to find words that wouldn't crack his voice. Sienna squeezed his hand. You've got this. He looked out at the crowd, saw Lily and Mia standing together, grinning, saw faces he'd worked with for months, people who'd believed in the project when he'd barely believed in himself. This building, he started, represents more than architecture. It represents community, connection, the idea that we're better together than apart. He glanced at Sienna. She was crying, just a little. A wise woman once told me that building things isn't just about structures. It's about building space for people to become who they're meant to be. His voice steadied. That's what this center is. A space for growth, for second chances, for finding your way home. The crowd applauded. The ribbon was cut. People flooded inside, marveling at the light-filled rooms, the community gardens, the art studios. But Julian only had eyes for Sienna. Come here, he said, pulling her into a quiet corner. What? He dropped to one knee. Sienna's hands flew to her mouth. Julian! I don't have a ring yet. I wanted to wait until I found the perfect one, but I can't wait anymore. He took her hand. Sienna, you saved my life. You reminded me what it means to care, to build, to hope. And I want to spend the rest of my life building things with you. Will you marry me? Yes. She was laughing and crying at once. Yes, of course, yes. He stood, kissed her, and the world exploded in cheers as the crowd realized what had just happened. Lily and Mia rushed over, nearly tackling them both. Finally, Mia shouted. Took you long enough, Dad, Lily added, but she was crying too. They stood there in the center Julian had built, the four of them, A family not by blood but by choice, and everything felt right. The wedding was small, just family and close friends in a Seattle garden, rain misting lightly overhead. Lily stood as Sienna's maid of honor. Mia walked Julian down the aisle, grinning the whole way. When they exchanged vows, Sienna's voice broke. I never thought I'd find someone who saw me, all of me, and stayed anyway. But you did. You do. Every day. Julian's hands shook as he slipped the ring on her finger. You taught me that love isn't about replacing what's lost. It's about making room for what's found. I found you, and I'm never letting go. They kissed to thunderous applause. At the reception, Julian danced with Lily. She was taller now, on the verge of 18, Yale-bound in a few months. I'm proud of you, Lil, he said quietly. I'm proud of you too, Dad. She hugged him tight. Mom would be happy. I think she'd really like Sienna. You think? I know, because Sienna makes you happy. And that's all Mom ever wanted. Julian's eyes burned. I love you, kiddo. Love you too. Later, Sienna pulled him aside. Her hands were shaking. I need to tell you something, she said. Julian's heart stopped. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, She took a breath. I'm pregnant. Time stopped. You're, what? Pregnant. 8 weeks. I found out last week but didn't want to tell you until after the wedding because I didn't want to steal focus, and now I'm rambling. Julian kissed her, deep and fierce and full of wonder. We're having a baby, he whispered. We're having a baby, she confirmed. They stood there, holding each other, while around them the party continued, laughter and music and the people they loved most. A new chapter, a new beginning. The bookstore had changed. New owners, updated lighting, a coffee bar in the corner. But the soul of it remained. The smell of old paper, the creaky floorboards, the reading nook where Julian and Sienna had first really seen each other. They stood there now, exactly 1 year after the wedding. Sienna held their daughter, Clara, 6 months old, with Julian's gray eyes and Sienna's dark hair. Lily was home from Yale for winter break, regaling Mia with college stories. Mia was thriving. Sophomore year, straight A's, talking about art school. Look, Sienna pointed to the parenting section. A young father stood there looking lost, sweat on his brow despite the winter cold. Julian smiled. Should we? Absolutely not. Let him figure it out. But as they turned to leave, the man called out, Excuse me? You look like you've got this parenting thing down. Any advice? Julian and Sienna exchanged glances. Yeah, Julian said. Don't trust the books. Trust yourself. And find people who will hold you together when you're falling apart. The man nodded, looking slightly less panicked. Outside, snow had started falling. Lily and Mia were building a snowman, Clara bundled against Sienna's chest. Julian pulled Sienna close, kissing the top of her head. We made it, he said softly. We made it, she agreed. And as they watched their family, imperfect, messy, beautiful, Julian thought about that first day in the bookstore. 2 strangers reaching for the same book. Both drowning, both desperate. They'd saved each other. Not in some grand, sweeping way, but in the small moments, the showing up, the holding on. Love wasn't about perfect timing or easy choices. It was about building something together, one brick at a time, until you looked up and realized you'd created a home. And that, Julian thought, was the best architecture of all.